So for the past week, protests have rocked the country of Iran. Now, a lot of these started with concerns over the economy. There, for example, has been a lot of hyperinflation. Prices for regular things have gone completely out of control. There's enormous amounts of youth unemployment. Even though the sanctions were somewhat loosened on Iran, thanks to the nuclear deal, things have not gotten better. It turns out the government of Iran is actually quite corrupt and pocketed most of that money. So it didn't actually go down to the people that actually really need it. So that, of course, causes a lot of tensions. And now we have a lot of, protests, right? We have a lot of people that are justifiably angry and have taken to the streets. And so far, there's been a lot of peaceful protests. The government's been clamping down on it. I think, according to the Washington Post, current numbers of at least 20 people have been killed so far. So you can kind of see what the government has been doing to clamp down on these protests, right? So, look, younger people, obviously, mostly are very unhappy about the repressive regime and a lot of different factors. It started just being economic, and now it's actually expanded to things that are, related to the rule of the clerics, whom I am no fan of, and the regime itself. So now, in the wake of these protests, President Trump has decided to weigh in. On Twitter, he writes, quote, "Such respect for the people of Iran as they try to take back their corrupt government. You will see great support from the United States at the appropriate time." Again, he could have just shut up and everything would have been better. Because there's a lot wrong with this. Well, first off, I think I'll point out the obvious, the easy part. Trump does not respect the people of Iran. No, he thinks they're terrorists, okay? If an Iranian refugee or a group of refugees tried to get into the United States, Trump would be the first person to try to block them, right? And then, go home, terrorist. We don't want you in this country. Go back to Iran. Go back to Iran. Again, they're Muslims in Iran, so even if they're refugees, man, again, President Trump's the one who wanted to put up a wall and ban Muslims from coming into the United States. That was part of his order. Now, the second part is actually worse, where he says, "You will see great support from the United States at the appropriate time." Okay. I hope that does not mean what I think it means. Look, I actually do care about the Iranian people, right? They are being oppressed by a brutal fundamentalist government. And I support their right to protest. I support their right to fight against that government. But as far as we're concerned, in the United States, we should not get involved. And let me explain why. See, I don't want to go to war with Iran because whenever we go to war and interfere in other countries in the Middle East, we usually fuck it up. And it makes things far, far worse. Look, and I hope that is not what he means by support. Support, again, doesn't always mean war, but with our track record of supporting Middle Eastern countries, it does not look good. Now, again, the mullahs, another reason that it's bad is the mullahs are saying, oh, this is all outside interference, or the foreign governments are, arming these people. They're putting money. It's people from the outside in their politics. They're all trying to destabilize Iran. Now, there might be a little bit of truth to that because Saudi Arabia would love to destabilize Iran, especially since they're both on opposite sides of the conflict in Yemen. So that actually might be a bit of a factor. That's also why Trump shouldn't tweet the shit out. Because all they have to do, the mullahs, they just have to point out, like, look at this tweet. See, it's those goddamn Americans again. They're here trying to overthrow your government, which is what we already did back in the 1950s. The CIA helped overthrow the secular, democratically elected government of Iran so we could get access to their oil. That's the problem. Now, we tried to do that. It massively backfired and actually ended up with fundamentalists taking over back in the 70s. So the concern that I have, though, with this is that if we were to get involved, we might actually create more instability that would lead to civil war, and there could be some very terrible things that would come out of a civil war in that area. And the possibility of our involvement, again, could make things far, far worse. So saying that, no, we're going to support you when the time is right, when it's appropriate, that, again, sounds like absolute craziness. I'm not interested. Now, that said, I hope beyond hope that they actually do something, right? And that they can one day lay the groundwork of becoming a secular democracy again. And I hope that they can do it peacefully. I don't know if that's possible, but I do know with 100% certainty that America should not get involved in this. No great support, right? And I know it sounds awful, but I think we need to sit back and kind of hope things work out and not get involved. We can't get involved in other countries and their internal wars. I mean, again, look at how Libya turned out. Look at how Syria is turning out right now. Look at the disaster in Yemen. We're actually, again, supporting the the Saudis. We're arming them so they can go and massacre civilians. That is us getting involved, where we do not need to be involved. It's a disaster when we actually start interfering. And again, we have to stop interfering with all these different countries. We've just got to stop. Our involvement only is going to make things worse. And that is a situation that we cannot afford. So, and it's definitely not a road we need to go down. So, I don't know what they're going to do. They need to start taking that Twitter away from President Trump before he gets us in real trouble. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.